Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we are going to start out with a little chat about the difference between a consultant and a coach. And then we are going to talk about the issue that I was facing last week with a marketing specialist. The difference between a coach and a consultant. If I'm going to hire a consultant, it's like hiring a specialist. It means that I have a specific issue and I want that person to resolve some kind of challenge. So I need them to help me to do something specific. And if we use the framework of output, input, scenarios, choice. So let's start with output. As I was mentioning in a video, a couple of videos back, output, we're talking about either people or we're talking about systems. If we're talking about people, then we're talking about level of effort and level of success. So if we're talking about my level of effort and my level of success, I would say that I have a relatively high level of effort and a relatively high level of success. But of course, that's the whole point right now, is for me to continue to increase that level of effort and increase that level of success. Now, one way for me to personally increase my level of effort, but not put more hours and work into it, and increase my level of skill, but not put more education into it, is by hiring a specialist. All right, so I hire a specialist and then they do that work for me. I delegate that work and then I can reduce my level of effort while at the same time enjoying a higher level of skill and better results. All right, so that's a consultant. That's a specialist. Now, what about a coach? A coach is somebody who uses some thinking frameworks in order to solve a problem which they haven't faced before. And that's what I did this week. I was facing a problem. I didn't know how to solve the problem. And so I analyzed the problem using thinking tools, and then I came up with a result. All right, so let's talk about the result and then figure out how we got to that result. The result is that the specialist believes that in addition to a regular posting schedule of videos and shorts on a variety of platforms, I also need 3 additional things to increase my reach. What are those specific 3 things? Right now, I'm already making 2 to 3 videos per week, and then I have an AI tool which cuts those videos into shorts. It has a calendar, and then I can put it into the posting calendar so that the shorts are automatically created and they're automatically sent to 6 different platforms at the times that I specify. So I have 2 to 3 full-length videos per week, and I have about 5 to 6 shorts per day. And then the specialist said, what did she say? So she said that we probably need to set up some kind of Notion calendar or some Notion page to track certain types of work activities. And I asked, okay, so what are we talking about? Okay, so do what? Do this, and then how long do I or you or someone else needs to do this? And then what is the output? So I want to record what is the specific output, how long did it take to achieve that output, and what were the activities that needed to go into the project in order to get that output. So we have a Notion page, and it has those specific things that we can measure. We were talking about in the last video the concept of output and then input. So we're talking about an input now. And specifically the input that we're talking about is teamwork. So I go into the book, Create Crucial Insight, and we pull down the checklist called State Teamwork. The issue is that I've been using this checklist for the last 5 years and much, much more in the last 3 years. I have at least 10 examples recorded where I was talking with a person. We went through the checklist. I recorded all of their thoughts as I prompted them. You see, these direct outcomes checklists, to some extent, it's about prompting. It's about prompt engineering. And if you know how to engineer the prompt, then you can get some kind of output. We started going through the prompting process. And I would say that I haven't always got the results that I was hoping to get when using that checklist. And for the first time, I was using it for myself. Now, in addition to using it with my own project, I've also developed and expanded and made new connections with much of the work of Thomas Buchholz. And I keep coming back to this idea that there are three levels in a business. There is the executive level, where we are establishing the overarching goals, the objectives that we're trying to achieve. Then there's the planning level, where we are starting to figure out who is going to do what. And then there's the implementation, where we discuss specifically what are the tasks that need to be done. All right, so let's start at the bottom. Let's start with the implementation level. In the state teamwork checklist, this is also at the bottom of the checklist. And it's where we're talking about personas. There's a difference between a persona and an entity in this checklist. An entity, it could be a business, it could be a manager, it could be a role. And then the personas, it's when you break the work down into smaller units and talk about the type of work that one person is going to do. In this case, we were able to break the personas down. Well, the specialist was able to help me to understand that the personas are commenter, designer, and trend researcher. All right, so the commenter, she said one thing that you could do to increase and improve your presence and your reach on social media is to search other channels and to look at their content and to make comments. This is the persona of commenter. Next is the designer. The designer is going to focus on making platform-specific content. So rather than putting the same shorts on 6 different platforms, now we're looking at a specific platform, we're commenting on that specific platform, we're engaging on that specific platform, and now we are making posts, repurposing our other material and putting them in posts which are expected or which are the way that you should be posting on that platform. And finally, it's the trend researcher. Following trends and doing things related to trends is always interesting because people have some expectation of what they're going to see because they're following a trend, and then you're putting your special spice into it. And so they get to see you, your personality, and your creativity within that trend. All right, so this is implementation. And the question is, all right, so how many comments are we going to be doing each day? Who's going to be doing the commenting? How many designs, how many platform-specific designs are we going to create? Who's going to be creating those designs? And how are we going to do the trend research? And how are we going to create content in accordance with those trends? So that's the implementation level. If we go up one level to the planner level, this is where we're talking about the marketing manager. We're asking the marketing manager, in order for you to reach our objectives, what are the things that you're going to have to do? And that's where the specialist comes in, talks about the things that have to happen based on the role of a marketing manager. And she talked about things like engage on social media and platform-specific content. All right, so that's actually when we started the discussion about what specifically we needed. If we go up to the executive level, and this is the first 2 boxes in the state teamwork checklist, then we're talking about what are the specific outcomes that we want to reach, and then how can we reuse the things that we put into this endeavor when we go into future endeavors. And the specialist talked about driving more sales, having more reach, and getting more views. All right, so that's why we need a specialist, and that's why we need a coach, and that's why we need thinking tools, and that's why we are now moving forward with more joy and more hope in the future.